This was supposed to be a Tipsy Top 10, but I drank a full 4 Loko, and I'm a bit more than tipsy, so let's get into it. In no particular order, these are the top 10 books that I read in 2023. I'm just going to go over them, tell you a little bit about them, and that's my cat. Number 1, Death Troopers. This is a Star Wars Legends book. It's fantastic. It's just it's not like a literary masterpiece. I gave it 5 stars. A lot of people might, say, wow, this is a piece of garbage. I don't know. I just thought it was really fun from start to finish. Just a quick thrill ride. It has a few, familiar characters. It's pretty fun. It's a zombie horror Star Wars novel, and it's pretty good. Wow, this is going to be interesting to see how this turns out, because that was not a good indication. The next one we have here is Game of Thrones. Legendary book, of course. There are going to be some, big names on here because this was my first year getting into reading, so I had to get through some of the greats. Kept me hooked from start to finish. It's just so good. I was a little bit confused, of course, but it's just so good. The world building is so good. I had heard about what George does to his characters, but didn't think it'd be that bad. But damn, that was a tough one. The end really threw me for a loop, and I'm very excited to get into book 2. I've just got so many other books on my plate, and that one's so big that I've kind of put it off a few months, but hopefully I'll be getting to that soon. Next here is Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I definitely read this one too early in my fantasy reading because I was reading it really slow. I didn't understand a lot. I was having to reread stuff, but what I got was fantastic. I'm really excited to continue in this series, but I have kind of decided to wait on book 3 because we don't know when we're going to be getting that. So I'm waiting until that comes out. I'm going to reread to get ready and then read book 2, which I have not read yet. And then when book 3 comes out, I'll definitely have that on pre-order and get that, read it as soon as it comes out. Next one we have is The Shining by Stephen King. Of course, needs no introduction. I'm not a fan of the movie, gotta say, just because I don't know, it just felt like a completely different story. But in this one, I really resonated with the character of Jack. And, even if you're not going through exactly what he's going through, I feel like he's just such a human character, and you can really, really understand him and connect with him. So it's such a good one. I'm actually really excited to reread it, honestly. The Shining by Stephen King. Next, we have Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. This was my first fantasy book. It's a lot of people's first, I know. It's like a gateway drug to fantasy. It's so good. I would have had this one and the third one on here if it weren't for, I'm only going to do one per series. That feels fair. But this is another one that I'm excited to reread as well. It's just the world building, the connection with the characters, the magic system, the everything in this. I don't know. It's so good. It's so good. Next is Leviathan Wakes, and this is the special edition. I'm very just in love with this series. This was a really good one to get me hooked into the series. Number 2, honestly, would have been on this list if I had read it last year, but I did read it this year, so just missed the mark there. But, I haven't read a ton of sci-fi, but I really loved this. I loved the kind of monster aspect to it, or, I resonated with the characters. I don't know, it was just a thrill ride from start to finish. It was really fun, and it's just nonstop action. It's a good one. If you haven't read it, definitely read it. I'm on book 3 of this series, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorite series. Definitely excited to get through that, and just, I'm on book 3, and I'm already dreading the end of it when I won't get to read more of The Expanse. Next is Sendin of Sins by Josiah Bancroft. This is a steampunk fantasy where a man and his wife are going to visit the Tower of Babel, and he ends up losing track of his wife and spends a few books trying to find her. It's super fun. Every level is like a different country, basically. It has its own rules, its own just systems. I don't know. But it's very fun, kind of the hijinks and things that he gets up to, the crew that he builds, you really resonate with. And I've read the first 2 in this series. I'm very excited to go on. I have heard some bad things about books 3 and 4, but I'm still excited to go on with it. I read book 2 a few months ago, and I need to get back to the series. Next is Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is, of course, a fantasy giant. It took me like a month to get through. I was reading it really slowly. I definitely, as I go on with the series, want to dedicate more time and focus on these books. It kind of put me in a reading slump, honestly. It was the biggest book I've read. It still is the biggest book I've read. But it's so good. That might make it sound like it's bad because it is, it did put me in a slump, but it's just the world building and everything is so great in it. I did wish there was more magic because in Mistborn the magic system was such a big part of it, and I feel like in this there wasn't a ton of the magic system in it. I also wanted more Yasna, and I know a lot of people feel like they don't like Yasna, and I'm just waiting for more of her. I loved her storyline, and I felt like I was getting too much Kaladin. Honestly, I know people love Kaladin, and I do too. I love Kaladin, but I wanted more Yasna. That's my personal thought, but I am super excited to go on with the series. I'm reading Warbreaker right now, and then Words of Radiance. Doing one Sanderson a month this year, and then hoping to go to Dragonsteel Con in December for the release of Winter Truth, and I'm going to read that as soon as it comes out, like day one. Try and get... I don't know the logistics of it, but I'm going to try and get it signed by him and read it as soon as it comes out. Next is The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. This one is... It's about a traveling judge. He goes around, from place to place, kind of hearing different cases. But he ends up coming up against a priest who was traveling with him, ends up leaving, and he's kind of gathering a crew to try and take over the empire and dispose of the emperor. Super good. It's told from the perspective actually of the justice's apprentice, Helena. And she's a really compelling character. It's like a thriller novel, but in a fantasy setting, and it's very good. I've thought of it as like Game of Thrones light, honestly. You will need a thesaurus or a dictionary he used a thesaurus. You'll need a dictionary while you're reading it, but it's so good. I'm reading book 2 right now. Book 3 comes out in 2 weeks. I'm very, very excited for that one. Also, it's the most beautiful covers in fantasy right now. Look at that. And then book 2, beautiful. And then book 3, I'll try and throw up a screenshot of it here. Just amazing covers. That is beautiful stuff right now. I mean, it's always beautiful stuff. It's beautiful, beautiful art. Lastly, we have The Regulators by Richard Bachman or Stephen King. This is his pen name. If you don't know more about that, look it up, or maybe I'll release a video of it later. I did spray the edges of this one myself. Same with Justice of Kings here. Sprayed the edges myself. But anyway, this one was just so fast-paced. It only takes place in a couple of days, or a day, and on one street with a very closed-in cast of characters. And it's so good. This was my first full-length Stephen King book, and it just got me hooked and got me to buy all of these that you've seen. If you saw my bookshelf tour, which actually might not be out yet, might come out later. Might put this out first, who knows. But this one was just so good. If you haven't read it, definitely read it. This is another one where I'm already looking forward to a reread of it, and I read it 6 months ago. So definitely a recommend. All right. Thank you for coming into this chaotic Tipsy Top 10 of 2023. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Leave a like, comment, tell me what your top 10 reads of last year were, and look out for some new videos coming soon. Thank you.